Welcome, guys. Happy again to meet on another video. So today, I think I want to discuss something we all consider very insignificant: the true cost of commuting. Right? We brush aside the cost of commuting and don't even bring that in our retirement corpus math. And why? Because it's too insignificant a money that it does not make any impact for me. That's exactly where we are mistaken. So let me go back to my personal life. I was in this friend's place very recently, probably like a month back, and there was another couple. I've not met that couple. So it was a party for people, a bunch of people. So my friends and this couple lives like five minutes, 2 to 3 kilometers away from their work, and it's a tier two town. And my friend's house, which is where we all gathered, is like a nice neighborhood which has adequate garden, ventilation, good society, good people, and good road facilities and everything. So this couple, we all sat down to talk, and the couple was like, well, this neighborhood is very good, and they just had a baby, so they thought like it could be a good place where our kid can grow up. And they were like quickly getting into the decision of can we look at something to rent or even buy for that matter. And but the only blocker was the one-way commute from this new place to their existing work will be 40 minutes. And I was asking, like, it includes 80 minutes of additional commute time every day. And they were like, brushing aside 40 minutes is not too big a deal, right? One way, because you can listen to a podcast, a bunch of songs, or you will have friends who will be joining you. So it just passes by. This is exactly the mentality of a lot of middle class Indians, particularly those people who can afford a average over 10 lakh car. And so hence I got a little curious and I wanted to kind of go into the depth of what the math says. Is it actually as insignificant as this couple thinks it is, or is there a larger story that I can uncover from doing the numbers? So I ran my Excel, and this is what I was able to figure, right? So, and the math can be looked at in two ways. I'll explain both. The first one is that let's understand the average running cost of a car, right? An average car will give you 15 kilometers. Let's assume it's in a city, it's a little too much, but let's just give that number on the brighter side. And fuel, diesel or petrol, whatever, costs 100 bucks on an average. So this involves 7 rupees per kilometer. And then the tires, like every 15,000 kilometers, you need to change tires. An average tire will cost you 4,000, so 16,000. So that introduces another 4 rupees into your running cost. Insurance and miscellaneous wear and tear, everything includes another 2 rupees into it. So you're approximately looking at 13 rupees per kilometer in India, right? For a petrol or a diesel car. I'm not talking electric. And I'm not including the cost of car in this because I'm again giving you that leeway that you may have fully paid and bought the car, which is not the case. But let's for the argument or for the spirit of this discussion, let's assume that is the case. So you have a 13 rupees average running cost for every kilometer. So this is the math behind the car. Now let's come to what is the math behind the commuting hour. So you have 40 minutes of commute one way. That means you have 80 minutes of commute for the couple. And 80 minutes of commute this means that you're not doing a 5-day work week, you're doing a 6-day work week, because one entire day per week is spent on this commute. And one entire day per week of commute means that 1.3 years of additional working time for every 10 years. So every 10 years, 1.3 years, you're just commuting. Let that sink in. I'll now come to the math behind the travel cost. For this 40 minutes, this couple is going to travel 40 kilometers because there's no traffic in this road. It's a suburban to a city through a freeway. So 40 kilometers translates to 80 kilometers both sides. So that means you have, let's assume 80 kilometers meaning 1,120 rupees per day. And let's assume that it's rounded off to 20,000. So just 20,000 put on a fixed deposit, which is growing just at an average of 7%, will give you 17.5 lakhs every 10 years. So every 10 years, just because a small decision that we consider as insignificant to our corpus building activity will put us into a situation where we are spending an additional of 17.5 lakhs plus spending 1.3 years extra at a work, because commuting to work is also considered work. This is how impactful this decision can be that we consider insignificant to our corpus building activity. Now let's look at the math in a slightly different way. And the statement is this, that every single kilometer that you move away from work Let's see how much of impact that. Let's say you take an average of 3 minutes to travel a kilometer in India. So that means you're introducing 6 additional minutes into your daily time. So this 6 minutes translates 30 minutes per week. So for a year, it's 25 hours. So 25 hours per year translates to, let's assume, an average earning capacity of 1,500 rupees that you earn per hour. So 25 hours means that you have around 37,500 rupees that you could have otherwise earned that you're now spending in sitting in traffic, right? And in addition to that, you're also introducing another 5,000 rupees because of the traveling cost, running cost, just because you introduced an additional kilometer away from work. So this translates to 42,500. So every year, your decision of moving away from work by just a kilometer is introducing 42,500. That translates to 4.5 lakhs without any interest. And you're sure, even if fixed deposit will give you a 6-7% interest rate. And I'm not even doing the math. Because the 4.5 lakh number every 10 years should be enough to convince you that it's better to stay closer to work and take this 4.2 lakhs over 10 years. Let's assume with the interest that's 10 lakhs. Take this 10 lakhs, put the additional 10 lakhs in the house that's closer to work. Because we always tend to make this decision, we move further away from work in an attempt to save the cost of buying a home. But if you look at the longer horizon, the more farther that you get away from work, the more the commute expenses is, and sometimes the commute expense makes 0 sense compared to you putting additional money in a house which is rather closer to the work. So yes, this is what I wanted to talk to you today. We looked at the average cost of commuting without considering the cost of the car, and we looked at math in 2 different ways. One is an additional 40 minutes commute time one way, 80 minutes commute time every day will have an impact of 17.5 lakhs every 10 years, along with 1.3 additional working years. Or if you look at the math on the other side, every additional kilometer will cost you 42,500 additional rupees every year and 4.5 lakhs every 10 years. If you put interest, that will be close to 10 lakhs. So whatever that we consider as insignificant, if you run the math, the story is very, very different. Thank you guys. And before you go, if you've come this far, I'm sure you'll find a lot of value. A lot of you do not subscribe to the channel, but still end up viewing this. So if you want regular updates on my video, which I will quite frequently do, better subscribe and watch out for my content and ensure that the subscription is worth it. Thank you.